Call this meeting to order. This is the regular meeting on March 26th of Santa Barbara City College Board of Trustees. And just to review quickly the mission statement for the college. As a public community college dedicated to the success of each student, Santa Barbara City College provides students a diverse learning environment that inspires curiosity and discovery, promotes global responsibility, and fosters opportunity for all. And we work hard at that. You're all welcome. And in calling this meeting to order, I would like to mention that we are missing one board member who is out, and we will miss him. All right. Thank you, all of you. Let's start by looking at the welcome, of course, but there are items to be taken out of order, and
Yes.
Lori, would you?
There are 3 items. I'd like to begin with our classified longevity, and we have someone very special to honor tonight, or today, so I'd like to ask Dr. Alan Price, our dean, to come up and to recognize this individual.
Thank you, Dr. Gaskin and Board of Trustees. Good afternoon. I'm Alan Price, Dean of the Health and Human Services, and I am honored and privileged to be here to recognize one of our very own, Sherry Higgins. Sherry came to Santa Barbara City College with a rich experience prior. She worked 2 years as directly under Cesar Chavez and the United Farm Workers. She was a producer and technical director for a local access television show that spotlighted African culture and roots. She was also a DJ for a radio station, KCSB, where she hosted a program on reggae and jazz. She's one of the few individuals that can truly differentiate the differences of all the Marleys, whether it was Ziggy, Bob, or Damien. And on top of that, she was an active and long-term writer for The Independent here in Santa Barbara. One of the common threads that wove through all her experiences, all of her jobs, was that of passion and commitment. Passion for the service of others and the commitment to truly make a difference in everyone that she touched on a daily basis. And that passion and commitment carried over when she started here at City College. Everyone that meets Sherry notices and sees right off the smile on her face. And that smile is biggest when she's talking about her family, and most especially her granddaughter, Emily. Well, Sherry, on behalf, and Sherry, please come on up.
Oh, she can take her granddaughter with her.
And we're privileged to have Sherry's granddaughter with us today as well. Sherry, I'm sorry, Dr. Gaskin. Sherry, on behalf of the college, thank you. Thank you for everything you do for me. Thank you for everything you do for our faculty. And most importantly, thank you for all that you do for our students.
Well, thank you, Alan. Well, I'm here with Emily, my granddaughter, and I just want to say thank you to Emily because she makes me the best person I possibly could be. And City College has allowed me the opportunity to be able to become a better person, and I really, really appreciate the opportunity to work here. It's a great place to work, and thank you, Emily. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations, Sherry. And thank you, Dr. Price.
There is a
Mem-
I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
second item to be taken out of order.
Yes.
And that's the 2015 Outstanding Administrator of the Year. And if you don't mind, I'd like
No,
to
please.
recognize that. When I first came here, one of the first things I had the pleasure of doing was to connect with our administrative team, which is about 60 strong, something like this. And this is a group that just signifies that esprit de corps that we want to see in all of our employee groups. They are a group that cares very deeply about each other, and they care very deeply about SBCC, and it shows in everything they do. They are, without question, one of the finest administrative team that I have ever worked with. And what they wanted to do collectively was to recognize outstanding contributions to the institution. And they began this program in 2013. We've had 2 awardees, and this is our 3rd year that we're doing this. And I'm looking at Pat to get my numbers correct. So it's always my privilege and honor to be able to introduce to you the Outstanding Administrator of the Year. But in order to do this, I need to begin with a couple of things. So the first is that we have an honorable mention. And I'd like to read to you about that honorable mention individual. And it's best to probably take it from the words of the nominee or the individuals nominating this person. So I'm going to focus on some key words, and I suspect you'll be able to pick it up. So I'll say right here, she is well-liked, highly regarded by everyone she works with for creating a positive work environment. I mean, I could stop there. That says everything. Highly regarded, positive work environment, but I need to continue. She has a tremendous work ethic and has an absolute passion for making SBCC a better place. And we've seen that all the way along. She's sensitive, empathetic, and very approachable, and an incredibly skillful communicator. Absolutely open to new ideas, and she's an expert at working with faculty to fine-tune their teaching loads as well as their professional growth goals and desires. She is a positive impact on promoting diversity on campus, and she is respected by faculty across the department she works as nothing but a positive contribution every step of the way. And the final thing I wanted to share with you is that this individual knows how, when, and whom she needs to reach out to when initiatives are being proposed, and she is able to mitigate obstacles and effectively manage the emotional well-being of others. The emotional well-being of others. I have had the pleasure of working with Marilyn Spaventa in her role as dean, and she's all of that and more. Marilyn, without question, is beloved by this institution. She is not only held in high regard, but so respected for her understanding of what teaching and learning is all about and what it means to serve students. And it couldn't be a better honorable mention than to please ask Marilyn to come down and accept this honor.
Feels like it, doesn't it? Funny.
Congratulations, Mel.
And for the winner of the 2015 Outstanding Administrator of the Year, we actually have a tie. And these are voted on by the administrators. So in a tie, it's really hard to do this other than alphabetically. So I'm going to go alphabetical here. And I'm going to do the same thing so that you can begin to ponder, who this might be. This passionate administrator is probably someone that you don't normally think about because she is under the radar doing such incredibly powerful work for this institution. Her nominator says that this recognition she deserves is for the hard work and dedication that she gives to SBCC, her incredible knowledge, her dedication to the success of students, and the fact that she's constantly learning and developing new ideas. This individual is at the heart of so many initiatives around which we could not function without her skill, her expertise, and her quiet work as one of our heroes. She is not only approachable and a fountain of knowledge, but she is the go-to individual, certainly whenever I have questions about legal framework or FERPA, that's a hint, or anything like that. Allison goes above and beyond in her responsibilities. Allison gives and gives and gives as Associate Dean. And oftentimes we take her for granted, not because we don't love her, but because she is so incredibly competent. And I worry a lot that I'm just piling things on Allison because what's that saying that you go to people who get things done? But boy, is she remarkable for this institution. And my understanding is that she follows the suit of her mom in that regard. She not only is the nexus for everything that undergirds enrollment, registration, financial aid, all of that stuff, but she also keeps the student life being as rich and vibrant as it is. And when she's not working on all of these very, very detailed initiatives, she's out of the area accompanying students on so many different conferences and things of that sort. Allison, we don't say thank you enough to you, and this is the institution's opportunity to do so. So please, if you wouldn't mind coming down. Allison, don't get too comfortable because we're going to take a collective picture. The next individual is equally as important to the institution as we have recognized with Allison, and probably those two go lockstep and hand in hand. And I'll share with you, because in large measure I can't even find the words to describe all of the technical aspects of what Dan does. However, Dan, I can't even say his title. His title is so long, Director of Information Technology Infrastructure and Systems. Is that it? But you saw it in the technology presentation the other day, and while Paul's staff is just remarkable in what they manage and oversee, Dan certainly is a key element in our being able to function. I think with Dan and Allison, and why you see them so prominent this year, is that they have led the effort with many of these important initiatives, most notably One College, which is an undertaking of immense proportion that really brings together this institution under one house. Dan is not only having the attributes that all of these individuals have in terms of compassion, passionate, dedicated, committed, ready to serve, contributing to the greater good. He's technically incredibly skilled and can understand these complex projects and break them down so that even I can understand them to some degree. Dan is so highly regarded across this institution. You see the turnout for all of these supporting each other. But when you mention Dan Watkins and you mention Allison Curtis Canning, it's just elevated in terms of what people think about their contribution. Dan, there's no one who deserves this more than you right now, and please come down and accept your co-winner.
I brought Ben with me today. He's been my caretaker. Today, making sure I'm okay. Just had surgery on Tuesday, so he's here with me today. But I love this institution. I feel like I won the lottery when I got a job here. And every day I wake up just feeling so blessed to work with such a great staff, great administrators, and just having an opportunity to serve our students is a blessing. And so maybe one day he'll come here and be a student and transfer somewhere else.
In the middle.
Congratulations, Dan and Allison. We know.
I would ask if Allison and Dan could come down as co-winners and if Joan could take your pictures together. And these are the 2015 co-winners of our Outstanding Administrative Award.
Members of the public have the opportunity to directly.
We have one more.
Oh, do you have one more?
Yes, we have,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
wonderful.
Yes, we have one more item
Oh.
to be taken out of order. And this is our sabbatical report by Dr. Chellick Currington, which, from the English department. And so we're going to this is our third item out of order. And Dr. Currington, we'd love to have you come up to the podium and share with us.
Something changed.
Well, sure.
That happens. It does. More often than we wanted to.
Anyway, I'm going to have a flash my project up here. I want to thank the Board of Trustees, the President, the college, my division, for all the support that I got in my sabbatical last spring. And it was to put together a literary journal, Painted Cave, for community colleges, student writers nationwide. And you have this report, but I will read you just a bit of it. The primary outcome, of course, was the publication of the journal, which is continuing. We'll have its third issue in May. The first issue contained 11 pieces of fiction by 9 authors, 12 poems by 8 poets, 3 pieces of creative nonfiction by different writers. The 24 contributors represented 8 states, including Arizona, California, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, Oklahoma, Oregon, and Virginia. 3 of the writers were from SBCC, and we also published the winners of the Emmons Poetry Contest, which we will do again this spring. And this is the second issue that I have up. The second outcome was a review of the existing literature concerning community college journals nationwide. And it appears that only one other community college has a literary journal that serves student writers nationwide. Most of the journals just serve their students or local students. So that is our signature, that we do serve students nationwide. And then the third achieved outcome was a detailed plan of the journal's operations, which included a selection process for the editors and staff, development of a call of submissions, a submission system, a review process, an online format of the journal, a distribution of the journal. All of this was achieved for the inaugural issue, but in a modified form. The selection for editors became a volunteer system, with each genre having its own editor. The review process was also compartmentalized into 3 genres. The submission system logged in submissions, responded to the writer, forwarded the submission to editors in each genre who would read and critique and put yes, no, maybe, and when there was a maybe, I, as the literary advisor, would make the decision. Occasionally, though we had a lot of submissions, particularly on the first issue when I had sabbatical time to really get those letters out, occasionally we would see a piece that we thought had potential, and we'd make comments and send it back to the writer and suggest they resubmit it if they so chose to do that. WordPress was used as the host of the journal because most of our original editors had experience with WordPress, and that seemed favorable to me, so that was the engine that we went with and are still with, and it served us well. The fourth proposed outcome was to present a roundtable to the English division, which I haven't yet presented, but at our winter retreat, I had a discussion and a presentation on the journal. So I think that covers my outcomes. And as you can see, here is the fiction, poetry, creative nonfiction, and then we have the first issue archive. I always have a submissions call, our submissions call. I'm terrible at working a computer in front of people. This happens in my classroom, and somebody runs up and says, we saved the day.
And Alan's going to run up.
Wonderful
Yes.
guy. So it's really been effective. What else can I say? Do you have any questions or about the journal? I hope that you do read the journal. Let me see if I can get down to our submissions call, which we always keep current. Well, almost. Well, you get the idea. But I always keep the current submissions call up there.
Thank you very much. Are there questions? Thank you.
Oh, thank you then.
Clearly, the sabbatical was productive.
It was very productive.
And we have had some really remarkable reports from the sabbatical takers, and yours is wonderful.
Yeah.
I've read The Painted Cave, both,
great.
and been very impressed.
Thank you.
So congratulations
Thank you. So
to
are
you.
my students. Thank
We're
you.
lucky that you took it and that you're with us providing that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Now, as you know, we do have a time on the agenda for the hearing of citizens, where members of the public have the opportunity to directly address the board on any item of interest to the public that is within the jurisdiction of this board. And in general, the presentations are limited to 5 minutes. And I just received a slip that indicates that we have a person who is requesting to speak to the board. Lanny?
President Kugler, members of the board, Dr. Gaskin, it's a pleasure to be with you this afternoon. I'm speaking as an individual. You should have received an email from me this past week with respect to facilities and out-of-state and international enrollment and Friday schedule, and I wanted to amplify some of those thoughts. These are issues that I and others in the community hope to be showing leadership on in the coming weeks and months. It's something that we feel is very important for Santa Barbara City College, and we hope that you give strong consideration to these and other suggestions. I want to start out with the Friday schedule, and I went to the spring class schedule for Santa Barbara City College and just looked at 4 departments at random to try to get some idea of how many classes are on Fridays compared to other days of the week. In the good old-fashioned days of a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class and a Tuesday, Thursday schedule, so that that was historically how college schedules operated. About 60% of courses were offered on a Friday in terms of, it's something that, in other words, not 60% of classes, but in other words, Monday, Wednesday, Friday were about 60% of classes. Tuesday, Thursday were about 40% of classes. So it's something that that would give you some idea of what the capacity would be in terms of that from a historical basis, something like 60% of courses could be offered on Friday or have one of their meetings on Friday. So I looked at English, and once again, these are data that is on the Santa Barbara City College website. I can't say that I did an in-depth study, so these are just rough approximations, but in any event, give some idea. Of 258 classes or sections, currently 16 or 6% have one of their meetings on Friday. In political science, of 22 classes or sections, and that's not sections within classes, but if there's the same class, but it's offered more than once in terms of, anyway, about 2 of them had some of their meetings on Friday, or 9%. In art, of 72 classes or sections, about 7 or 10% were offered on Friday. And in black studies, of 6 classes or 6 sections, zero met on Friday. So there's no question at this point in time that there's a lot of capacity at Santa Barbara City College on Fridays in terms of we could probably increase the number of students at City College on Friday by a factor of 5 to 10 in terms of that gives some approximation of what the capacity would be. And that would just bring it to what we're now offering on Monday through Thursday. So in other words, there's something like a 1/5 to a 10th of the students who are on City College Monday through Thursday who are on City College on Friday. And this is a very relevant issue when it comes to facilities, because particularly when planning for construction and where students are going to be housed and so forth, scheduling issues are very important. So it's something that from that perspective it's very important, but also as someone who has been a teacher both at Santa Barbara City College and UCSB and Allen Hancock too, for that matter, I think that the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, the Monday through Friday schedule is a superior educational schedule, and it's something that I think that within the community there would be much interest in as a result of traffic issues and then community issues with respect to the weekending for students on Thursday rather than on Friday. And that's probably the case in terms of, for most students, 80% of students, something like that. The week is probably over by Thursday, maybe even 85% of students, 90% of students. So I think that's a very important issue for City College to address, and I'm confident that people in the community will continue to address this issue until the issue is addressed, in terms of, and not from the perspective of adopting policies that encourage more classes on Friday, but so that if someone comes to this meeting a year from now, they'll say, well, now there's 22% of English sections on Friday, and there's 28% in political science, and so forth. In other words, the question is reform actually going to result in more people, more students being on class on Friday? So, is that my 5 minutes? Okay. Well, on that thought, I will thank you very much, and we'll look forward to seeing you again before too long. Take care.
Thank you very much. You'll be interested to know that we've had several groups that have also discussed this item, and thank you for sharing your ideas. Angie, is that all of the public? All right, thank you. Now we are about to look at the minutes of the, no, let's start with the reports. That's interesting. It does say minutes here. Yeah, all right. I'm looking up there. Maybe that's not a good idea. All right. Let's do the minutes. We have 2 minutes to consider the meeting of February 26th, and then we will look at that one first. The meeting of February 26th and then March 12th, we could do with a motion, please.
I move approval of the February 26th minutes.
Second.
Second, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Right. Opposed? Fine, thank you. Now, on March 12th, the minutes. A motion, please.
Move approval, March 12th minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right. Now, we're at communications, and let's talk about first, and thank you very much for the outstanding administrator discussion. That's always really an excitement for the trustees to hear about people who are really leading the way on this campus. So thank you. Now, communications, the first report from Dr. Monda.
Good afternoon, members of the board and Dr. Gaskin. I'm going to give you a visual of where we all are right now. You know, spring break's a wonderful thing, but everybody so that's just sharing with you what is going on in classrooms, hopefully after the class ends. But we're all getting a lot of work in before we kind of collapse and refresh, and I have been reminding my students that you don't need really 9 days off. You maybe need like 3 or 4, and then you could get back to work because there's a lot to do for the rest of the semester. They'll come back with just 5 weeks. With our new schedule, we used to have spring break after 9. Now it's after 10, and it's funny what a difference these rhythms make. But they'll come back with 1/3 left, and I know in my discipline, that's where it all kind of comes together, because you read and you write and you read and you write and you read, and then you start to understand how to do it better. So this last third's a really great time in the semester. And again, we do hope everybody comes back. Occasionally spring break doesn't end for a few students, but I hope it's not that many of them. So that's the rhythms of the semester. And then I just was looking over the Senate agendas for the last 2 meetings that we've had since I spoke to you last, and there were 3 things I wanted to mention. Not too much in depth, but just kind of to give you a sense of what it's like for faculty. The first one is we've been doing some extra feedback for the program location and land use master planning process, and it's been really exciting to work with experts like that who can see this big picture and teach us a lot of new concepts. But the part I'm going to share is how hard it can be to figure out certain things like office space, and the part I wanted to just bring publicly is meeting the needs of our adjunct faculty. So we're really thinking about creative ways to do that, and the consultants are listening to us and recognizing kind of the standard model doesn't really appeal to a lot of the people who are actually working with students. So it's going to be exciting as we work towards that, and we have the kind of culture here where we will really talk to the people affected and figure out, well, what can we do? No, not everybody can have their own office, but what can you do that meets more your needs? So it's kind of been a interesting discovery process, and when we finally do get to redesign buildings, Dr. Gaskin involves users, and we get to really kind of explore what will meet our needs, and that's going to really vary by area and discipline. The second thing I wanted to share was, I've told you in a slightly complaining way, we're going through all the board policies and administrative procedures, as you are too, and it's hard, but it's also, some of them are really exciting, especially the ones that affect our life in the classroom. So I just wanted to highlight, we're developing a new distance education policy, and it's really exciting to finally put in words what we know the best practices are towards how when you teach distance education, and figuring out the systems here to support our faculty as we really work to make those classes truly equivalent to, I mean, they're not going to be equivalent, but yeah, to get us the kind of interaction that allows for students to really, really engage with the material. So it's an exciting time as we have a policy that reflects what we know happens in the well-run classes. Then the only other one I wanted to mention was we're really looking at our faculty evaluation processes again. And we're really privileged that it's a peer process. We know that. I mean, faculty are really lucky that they get to do this together. And so that's a privilege that it's peer-driven, but we also really feel those obligations. So we are working on consistency in the kind of training and support that we need to make that evaluation process to have full integrity. So it's an exciting moment for us as a faculty as we work on that. And then the last one I wanted to share is we also had EVP Friedlander come to talk about the scorecard measures and look at our data right now. And we're all really thinking about how we're going to try to move those numbers, as everybody in the state is, now that we have additional categorical funding to try to do that. But we're also really hoping to, as a faculty, learn more about how to use data to evaluate what we're doing. And so again, thanks to the equity and SSSP money, we'll be able to hire an additional researcher, and part of that person's job is going to be being able to work with faculty and help us interpret data and think more about the kind of data we want to explore. So that's really another kind of exciting moment in our lives as faculty. So thank you. Do you have any questions? Yes.
Questions?
Yes. You obviously heard Lanny Ebenstein talk about the possibility of going or returning to a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule. And we've had conversations about that. Are there conversations among faculty about that issue? I'm not asking you how do you feel, nor how anybody else feels. I just want to know, is there a buzz about that? Are people interested?
No. No, I'm kind of kidding. You know, we have a really full, and also the buzz, you know, I just did this for you, right? Mm-hmm. You know, we have a buzz on the stuff that we're working on. We moved to that schedule deliberately. You know, it wasn't like, let's just have a 4-day week. I mean, you know, we moved to that because in my discipline, 50 minutes doesn't do a heck of a lot, you know? So a 15-minute class, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I take attendance because attendance is important. People settle in. I want to do some group work. I want to do some lecture. I want to do this. I want to rewrite a thesis. That doesn't happen in 50 minutes. So that change reflected a lot of reflection about pedagogy and how we wanted to teach our classes. So we went to that 4-day block really deliberately to serve our students. So this moving to 5 days so people don't start partying, I think there's a lot of other reasons for that, and people started partying even when they had class on Friday, and they were just idiots in class on Friday. So I recognize the need to use resources better. I recognize the frustration of the community that I think this is a little bit targeted, that this isn't necessarily the answer. So that's my opinion, but also some others. So if we're directed to explore this, you know, we can bring back what that would mean, but I will say in my discipline, my 3-unit courses, I wouldn't want to put on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday because I wouldn't be able to teach them well enough. We do have some 5-unit classes that I think would really serve the 3-day model pedagogically because they'll be longer. So, you know, if that is a direction, the impulses behind it aren't coming in my mind from pedagogy at this point that I've seen, but they can, and I'm sure we'll be having some discussions.
Good, thank you.
Greg?
Yeah, after Peter's question, my question and what I was thinking about when Larry was presented his point
Lanny.
was Lanny, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Is just, you answered it right there. Thank you so much, because when people say, oh, we need to do something, different, is like, why did we do what we're doing now? Where did it come from? And what I was going to ask you was,
And I'm going to tell you one other reason why we're talking about it. For a lot of students, coming to class 2 days instead of 3 makes it possible for them to go to college, because they have to work those other days.
Right.
And so for many, that was another reason behind this, that community college students don't always have 3 to 5 days to go to school.
I believe that it's worthy of some discussion, at least on at the board level, to have discussions so the public can know how we got where we're at, why, and what maybe we can do about it, and that we will address it to the best of our abilities. But at the same time, we don't want to take away from the improvements that we've made in the instructional programs. So it's not like we're blinded, and but I do think that it's maybe this board's responsibility to see that we communicate with the public.
Thank you. I think that's a really great point about why it happened, and if we were to change, we need to tie it into the pedagogical issues and the needs serving our students.
The old saying is, always look in the closet before you go out to the store and buy something new. Thank you.
Any other questions? Oh, yes, Veronica.
Yeah, I know you mentioned that you guys will learn more how to use data as that impacts the classroom. And so as you learn more, I'm wondering if you guys will start to think about also the outcomes of students. And if you're talking about looking at data in terms of moving some of these achievement gaps or needles or whatever needle you're trying to move, especially in some of our remedial English and math courses, what it means as a student to have your syllabus broken up in smaller chunks of a Monday, Wednesday, Friday versus a Tuesday, Thursday, and I don't see my professor Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And so I think that for students, our most at-risk students, if we're talking about a system-wide now focus on moving gaps, that is something that we have to start looking at, because some students do learn best in models, especially our remedial courses where that syllabus is broken up into smaller chunks and you have more contact with your faculty on a weekly basis versus you're going 4 days without seeing them. You skip one class, you're done, you've missed a lot already, and it's easier for students to fall behind. So just throwing that out there,
I think those kinds of contexts are really important and will be part of our discussion. I do think things have changed. I keep contact with my students electronically as well, and I do think it's not high school in terms of like, oh, okay, you got to show up or you can't do it. But I totally respect that, and that will be the kind of discussion we'd have, and especially at the remedial levels, those are all more than 3-unit classes, and so those do serve a split over 3 days that many are already offered that way. Yeah, but that's a great point.
Thank you very much. Is there, yes, Marcia?
I just wanted to say this is a topic that's interested me for a long time too, and what I'm hoping is that we'll be able to be creative in working on it together to maximize the concerns about how it affects our students in class and our faculty, and at the same time maximize our facility utilization and minimize our effects on the parking and traffic and so forth. And I see that, to me, I think Lanny has a point that we need to look at this pretty hard. You have really good points about why we went in the direction we did originally, and hopefully we can bring it all together into something that makes sense.
As you know, it's in our neighborhood task force report, and we're working on it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the absolutely fascinating reports you give. It's a wonderful, it gives us a real feeling for the rhythm of the school year and also the exhaustion of the faculty. Thank you.
Not only that, I woke up, so thank you.
Along that line, I just want to remind you that our role as trustees is upholding the values of the college by establishing expectations of excellence and integrity and promoting equality of opportunity for all students and creating a climate that fosters student success And all of those, of course, are related to the discussion we just had. So thank you for that discussion. Now, we are now moving on to the next report. Colette Brown is not here right now, so we will not have a report by the associated students, but we do have Liz here for the classified employees.
Good afternoon. Madam President and President Gaskin, the consultation groups met a couple times, and we've been doing our board policies and our PEC, which is a program evaluation committee. We have people on that, and we've also adding SEC, which is Student Equity Committee. So we have one of our members, but we have 4 classified staff on that. But today I think the most important thing to talk about is in the human resources items, you have the classified group that are going to be reclassed. Now, when we had our reclassification study back in around 2005, after that, we knew that we had to have a process to keep it going because it had been 30 years before that time when anybody was reclassified. And so we developed a process, and I think it's working well. Every year, all the employees, all the classified employees, get a chance to put in a request to be reclassed if they feel like they've been working out of class for a length of time. Now, there's a difference between a regular reclassification like this and a department reorganization. And when we go through the process, we're very careful in our analysis to make sure that the requests that we consider are ones that are actually the reclassification, which means that over time, you slowly change your job. You know, over time, over a year, two-year period, you take on more duties, as opposed to reorganization, where your supervisor needs you to do a higher level work and just assigns you to that. So what we're doing now, and that is a whole different process, that where you reorganize a department, but we're looking at the people that have slowly accrued more job duties. And our process, we have 3 managers and 3 classified staff on it, and we go through the evaluation process. Sometimes we actually even call in some of the staff with their managers to actually have a personal interview if we have more questions about it. They have a whole form they have to fill out. And so this time we had quite a few, and as you see in your agenda, there's many that actually qualified to be reclassed, and it shows what they were and had they changed. So I'm really grateful that we have this process because a lot of schools didn't, and we didn't have it for many, many years. And we were able to negotiate with the district, and we actually have a process that works. So I just wanted to point that out to you since you do have a few that are on the agenda today for people to be reclassed. It's your, I think, 8.1 agenda item if you want to know exactly what I'm talking about. Do you have any questions?
Thank you for explaining that process, Liz. That's very helpful. Any questions of Liz? All right. Thank you. Very well, then. We are now at the point where we are looking at all sorts of other kinds of reports, and the first one comes from our president, Dr. Gaskin.
Thank you very much. I just have 2 brief comments. One is to follow along with what Dr. Monda said. The transition to an academic scheduling, blocked scheduling, was very purposeful and very strategic. And it went along with the institution going to a compressed semester calendar. When you have a non-compressed semester calendar, it's about 17 and a half, 18 weeks long. And hence, the time blocks are shorter and they're spread out. Based upon a number of studies and a look at student success in different modalities of delivery of instruction, this institution chose to go compressed about, Jack, how many years ago? Yeah, 10? Yeah, it was something, in fact, most... Okay, 15. Most institutions in the state went to compression. When you compress, you're down to a shorter, about a 16-week instructional block. And that is done on the basis of those pedagogical reasons that Kim talked about. That means you have, and you've heard even at the K-12 or at the high school, block scheduling. This allows for that sort of thing, more time with students to go into depth. It is very different than pedagogy that you might find in other levels of the academy. So this was done very purposefully. And should a discussion happen, it really shouldn't be on the merits that partying starts on a Thursday night, but rather on the merits of, is it fueling student success? Is this academic calendar fueling student success? So I just wanted to comment on that. My other comment is just to advise you, the institution has a long-term lease with Kaplan Language Schools. That was entered into by the board in June of 2012 and had a 3-year term through June of 2015, with the provision for 2 one-year extensions at the request of Kaplan. They have made their first 1-year extension request. So now the lease, that initial 3-year lease, is extended by 1 additional year right now to June 16. They will have the option of extending for 1 more if they so choose to June 17, and then the lease terminates. You will recall Kaplan leases unutilized facilities here on campus, and they are host to 240 students, not upwards of some of the other numbers we've heard, like 600, but 240 students. And that's it.
Thank you. Are there questions?
Lori, I just want to ask how, I guess when we're talking to the, you mentioned your whole PR thing, or I keep thinking of you. How can we say we don't have facility space, but then we say we have unutilized facilities? Can you explain it so it's clear?
I never said we didn't have space.
Well, just
Measure S is about rehabilitating.
I'm not talking about Measure S. I'm talking about we're saying that we're crunched on, we're talking about adjuncts not having offices. We're crunched on space.
We have gone down in our enrollment. Our credit enrollment, we lost 3,000 students between the peak of 09-10 and 14-15. So what we're doing is trying to hold on to our funded base. So yes, we are absolutely out of space when it comes to offices and program space. But that space that Kaplan utilizes was installed by Kaplan. It wasn't here absent Kaplan's investment in that space. So when they vacate, we will have access to that space. But right now, I think we're pretty good. And remember, Plump is looking at the effective utilization of our 3 campuses. So,
Nicholas is next, and then Marcia, and then Craig. Nicholas?
I just had a quick question.
Sure.
As Kaplan is on our campus,
Yes.
and I understand they are paying a rental fee,
Yes.
Does some of that fee go into the upkeep of not just their building, but the rest of the campus itself?
they keep up their building. That fee that they charge, that rental fee, goes into the general fund of the operations of the college.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Craig?
I thought Marcia was next. Go ahead.
Don't fight.
Not critical. I was just going to mention, as I recall the Kaplan lease, first off, we own the buildings, they don't.
Correct.
And second of all, we can end their lease sooner than 2016 if the college were to give them notice that we needed the space.
18 months.
Is part of that
18
lease.
months.
Yeah.
So once you get half a year into this.
No, I know. Once you get
then
half a
it's
year
moot.
in, you're not going to do it.
Correct.
But I'm just saying we did make changes in the lease at the time that we originally approved it in 2012 in order to be able to say, if we need this space, we can tell them and they will have to vacate.
Correct.
Now, we, the board, don't decide that, obviously. The administration and the faculty and so forth.
Craig?
Yeah, thank you. But what I was thinking about was, and you said, when you mentioned Plump a minute ago, and Plump's looking at our facilities and how we use them. and this occurred to me even when Lanny was up there. I got it right this time, not Larry. And speaking, and thinking about, I thought about, well, we're doing Plump. We're taking this into consideration. I'm not personally, contributing to Plump. I'm just waiting to see more of the results. But I think I wonder if Plump's actually going to look at the performance level of the students and what can make it better. If there's any, it just seems to me from what we've discussed so far this evening that there needs to be some kind of relationship there, and I don't even know how to create one if you don't know already. But it's very important that whatever we do, that we don't harm our students' success rate. That's paramount to me.
Remember that we are held accountable for moving the dial on that student's success, and we do it through state metrics as well as our own student learning outcomes. So our faculty have their pulse on student success all year long. They have to submit assessments of their learning outcomes and then improvement plans.
Right.
But I have not heard, and Kim can correct me, that lack of student progress, that faculty are finding that if there is lack of student progress, that it's tied to the scheduling of classes. I haven't heard that. I have heard that it's the sometimes the delivery of the content, how it's delivered, the sequencing of content, things of that sort, but I have not heard the scheduling.
I'll add to the debate real quick.
Thank you.
There is a concern when you're looking at utilizing rooms fully that you pick really lousy times that people don't want to go. And so, like, the English department offers some Friday-only classes. We use rooms. Sometimes the rates in those classes are even lower because it's not part of the culture to be in school all day Friday anymore. So when we make these kinds of shifts, that really there's some concern that if you go later at night, if you go on to Fridays, Friday afternoon, that's going to hurt your success rate because, students may not go because they either have work or it's not part of the culture. So, yes, we're thinking about those issues, but that room utilization, the discussion so far, there's been some concern about it from that side. So we're going to be really careful.
Bottom line, what drives this is pedagogy. It's instructional methodology.
Okay, so we just have to make sure that we're communicating with the public and those groups that are interested in the points that were brought up about our effects, the effects our students have in the neighborhoods and our neighbors. And I think there are solutions there, but there are also some of the proposed solutions that are going to cause problems on the other end, and so you can't just make spur-of-the-moment decisions. And I just felt the need to contribute that, and so people can hear it.
And I want to be sure everybody understands that when we're dealing with things that have to do with pedagogy, Dr. Monda and the Faculty Senate will have a very important impact in the discussions.
Yeah, it was just a couple of months ago I had to look up what that word was.
Right.
It's not commonly used in most of our world.
Yeah. Marcia, did you have?
I would agree with you that what our faculty think on these issues is number one. I was interested, however, at some point as this discussion perhaps develops more, and it seems to me to be an issue that we, the board, are interested in, and as well our students and faculty and staff are interested in, because we're all affected. And the taxpayers are affected as well when they look at our utilization of our facilities. So looking ahead to that discussion, it will be interesting to learn things like when we made those pedagogical decisions 15 years ago or so, when all the colleges looked in that direction, looked at the studies, did those studies break out the groups that we are now trying to help close the gap with? Were they sufficiently separated out and looked at to see if there was an impact for them that was positive or negative in the way that we schedule? So I hope we get to some of those more specific questions, not we as a board, perhaps we may hear about the result, but as the discussion develops, and that we will have a mechanism for that discussion to take place, purposefully.
But I just want to be really clear, and you'll see it in the Transportation Demand Management Plan. It's one element to examine the distribution of courses, but we're not right now talking about moving away from the compressed calendar. So the compressed calendar drives the block scheduling. So Jack and the deans, along with the Academic Senate, are looking at the spreading out of classes a little bit more, but it's not a wholesale examination of our scheduling blocks right now.
Does everyone on the board understand what Dr. Gaskin means by block scheduling? Are there any questions about that? Because that's the critical piece of what we're talking about.
Well, maybe you should just re-explain it for the public, if not for us.
There's good dialogue that has happened up and down the state periodically about the notion of does it support teaching and learning to teach over a shorter, more compressed time or over a longer distributed time. Case in point, quarters, 10-week quarters versus 15, 16, 17, 18-week semesters. What we're tending to see over the last 15 years is the compression model being the more accepted model for a variety of reasons. You hear about, and we're hiring a boatload of faculty right now, and we expect them to be engaged with students in the teaching learning process, and that takes time. You introduce content during a lesson, and then you engage the student in learning. The flipped classroom takes time during that time block. So we have very much gone away over the past 20 years from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday language classes to block scheduling where you're blocking. You're extending the time over a shorter period of time. We see that as well with our accelerated programs in ESP. Remedial courses, foundational courses in English and math are accelerated. More time, shorter period, intensity. So that's where we're seeing movement on student success. I hope that helps.
That helped. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, Craig?
I think that goes a long way, and I've had members of the public say to me, well, you know what, those people, those teachers, they just want to have Fridays off too. And, without really understanding. And that's why earlier I mentioned having been on other boards and other situations and nonprofit groups, whatever, everybody sees a problem and they want to find some new way to fix it, or they want to change things, and they often they don't look at the history to see how it got to where it was and why. And I think if we just keep, and then if we can understand that and communicate it, and then we can look at the problem and try to find, alternatives or compatible solutions, which we clearly have to do. It's just understanding it in more detail. So thanks for the extra time. I hope somebody out there is actually watching this video or listening.
Well, yes, I'm sorry. If I could comment, Craig, I can't thank you enough for bringing that up, and I feel incredibly compelled to bringing up the fact that there is a myth out there that faculty don't work on Fridays or have 4-day weeks. And I have to tell you, when you go to compression, it causes faculty to work so much more over the course of a given week. The workload and the work ethic of our faculty are something to be extremely proud of. And I get very frustrated, as you're probably seeing now, not about you, but about hearing that, because I can't think of a profession that works as hard as teachers. And it's just appreciated and under-acknowledged. And my heart breaks when I ask faculty to do program reviews, student learning outcomes, integrated planning, accreditation, a program evaluation, and I could go on and on top of their teaching prep office hours and 24/7 support for students through social media and emails. Faculty are working really hard, so I so appreciate what you just said. Thank you.
Well, if that was easy for you to say, it's a little harder for me to say, not being a teacher. So I appreciate your explanation.
Peter?
Well, this has been a wonderful discussion, at least the beginning of one. And the Ed Policies Committee has committed to taking this issue up. The idea of a block schedule is not new, and I'm aware of the pros and cons. I mean, there are really good arguments on both sides of this issue. So I think it's well worth it for us to take up the issue. Now, one of the desired outcomes of the more compressed schedule was that students would take fewer sections, fewer classes, and therefore be able to focus. And the same expectation was there for faculty. Now, to whatever extent that has happened, that's in keeping with the expectation. My concern sometimes has been that students overload in the compressed semester and don't take advantage of that extra time in class sections to actually learn. And the same would be true of faculty. I mean, we do know that faculty take extra units as a way of generating additional income. And that's what makes this an interesting question. And what I'm going to suggest is that step one of this process might be at the Ed Policies Committee, where we actually hear about some of these component parts. And if it continues to be of interest, maybe dedicate an entire board study session to a discussion of these issues.
Thank you, Peter. Yes, Nicholas.
This is very interesting to me as a student. I've been in classes where it's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I tend to do better myself in those kind of environments. I like spreading it out over a longer period of time because it allows me, more than likely, I'm going to take Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and or Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. Tuesdays and Thursdays allows me to take care of my homework as well as whatever else I need to in my life. I know that for other students, though, they like to get in, get out, and do their jobs and whatnot. So going forward from this, I would like to poll my students through our Coffee with the Senators and ask them how they feel, and I can create a report and bring that back as far as how the student body feels about this issue.
That'd be great.
Yeah. With emphasis on how do you learn best?
Yeah.
I mean, I think there are extraneous arguments to this that should not be considered as critical as that one, because that's our mission. How do we create an environment where students learn best?
Thank you. That will inform our discussion. That'll be very interesting.
Great. No worries.
Any other comments on this before we move on? Veronica.
I mean, no, just following Lori's comment, how many days do our faculty work a year?
175.
175. So, and I think, and being a teacher myself, so I know that the intensity of the job in itself is because it's kind of like a tax season for 175 days. And so if maybe some of these other projects or other obligations that they do, and I don't know, Kim, if you guys have thought, I mean, maybe extend your contract so that you don't have to do everything else on top of the number one thing that your heart is to do, which is to serve those students, and all these other things. You extend your contract 15 days, and you do things that when the students are not present, so you're not trying to do everything at the same time. And I speak that as a teacher because we work 180 days, and yeah, it's intense, and you work 6-7 days a week for 180 days, like a one long week, but then you don't work all summer, and then you don't work all spring break, and you don't work all of holiday. And then you think, well, I mean, after a couple of days, you're refreshed, and you're like, I could pick up some of those projects that, you know, so I think, I mean, that's just a conversation that extend your contract so that you can do maybe some of those other things when you don't have to deal with students, you know?
We're...
You can't change the 15 weeks that used to be 18, and I'm still doing all the same grading, and that's great. It's better for the students. They will stay in class school.
We're edging into contract talks, which is not so great
No,
right
sorry,
now.
that's not what I meant. I just want to reduce the load, you know. Like, you know, you guys are helping Lori run this amazing college, and so to reduce, you know, there has to be some real conversations about your workload, the human capacity to actually do all this. So yeah, a good point.
Thank you.
Veronica, I don't know of any faculty who take that block seriously. I don't know of anybody who stops on that day. I think most faculty that I am aware of have a 367 day per year work year, and they push it if
Well,
if
right,
they
but
have
I'm
more
talking
days.
about the extra projects that come in. You know, we ask them.
Okay, you guys.
move on.
Angie
Yes.
must be losing
Yes.
her mind. There have been no motions for several minutes. So let's move on. Thank you. And this, it will be a continuing discussion, perhaps not in this format. Thank you very much. Let's go on. All right, we're ready for reports from board members and committee chairs. If you have a report. Marcia?
Fiscal Committee met March 9th. We talked about the quarterly financial status 311Q reports, December 31st, 2014. And we also talked about cost of FTES by department. That was a, moderate discussion, and we had a suggestion for some amendments to the chart that came with that discussion, and we expect to see it back again probably next meeting, but maybe later than that. I don't know. Depends on how long it takes to add that additional information. And then we talked about the funding options for Campus Center replacement project. Unfortunately, the district has to fund $11.7 million of the Campus Center replacement. And there are a couple of options for doing that. We had a discussion about that, and I expect that will come back to the full board for a more lengthy discussion that everyone can participate in, because it's a really important question here, and we need everyone's viewpoint.
Thank you, Marcia. Is there a facilities report? Great.
Yes, there is. We had, we had a pretty nice agenda. I thought maybe it wouldn't be that significant, and I read through it all, and then I thought, there's some important, we're going to vote later, I guess, and on a couple of the things we looked at. But what we did is we reviewed major 5 projects, kind of got a status report there, and we looked at completed projects, and we had discussions about long-range planning, and even Plump was brought up. And by the way, this happened just a couple days ago. So Lori was at a conference somewhere. I think it was last Tuesday. And we had, then one of the things we're going to do tonight, there's a resolution that we get to vote on. And it sounds really complicated, but it's not. We've all worked with the LED lighting replacement program already. And basically it pays for itself, and we get money, so we don't have to take away from money we could use for the students. We get money just for this project. And it's not bond money, nothing for the public to worry about. And this is a good thing because we're going to use up less energy. And so the committee, such as it is, one member was absent. Marty and I, I think both would endorse that you recommend that you follow the recommendations of the staff. And then we had a couple notices of completion. The Schott Center window and door replacement project is complete, and everybody seems to be really happy with it, including the color of the paint. It looks like maybe it did 30, 40, 50 years ago. It really looks nice, so go by there if you haven't seen it. And I'm telling myself that more than anybody else because I rarely go down there. And then we have the IDC building, and I had to ask during the meeting which building is that, because there's 2 buildings on the other side of the campus, and which one was it? And I remember the projects, but it's done. They did the hallway, they did the carpet, and refinished the doors, and I guess everybody's really happy. So these are notices of completion. That's about it. The meeting took a little longer than I thought it would, but that's okay.
I congratulate Dr. Gaskin and the Facilities Committee and all of the people that are working on the Plum project. I've attended 2 of those meetings, and they are very impressive. They do get lots of response from the people who are attending, and the discussion is primarily at a very high level and important. So just to mention that in terms of facilities. Now, as the person who represents the trustees on the foundation board, I just want to say that the year has started beautifully. There was a kickoff, and there will be a campaign. If you haven't already gotten materials, you can be guaranteed that you will. We are very, very lucky to have Jeff Green working on the foundation work and leading the charge. And thank you to all of you for the kind of support you have done in the past with the foundation. And I look forward to continuing progress forward on this issue. Thank you. All right, unless there are other board reports, we're going to go ahead and go into our the rest of the agenda, and the first item on that is the accreditation self-evaluation update by the Senior Director of Institutional Research, Robert Else.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. A brief update on our progress on the self-evaluation process and report that we are in the process of preparing. In preparation for this visit by the accreditation team in the last week of September and early October, they arrive Monday, September 28th, and will be here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And at that time, they will have read the report that we're preparing now, and they will have visited our website and spent a lot of time getting to know us as best they can. They'll be here requesting pieces of evidence and interviewing people. And I want to stress that this team, they're our peers. They're our colleagues at other California community colleges. They're not just detached bureaucrats coming to, look under rocks. They're our colleagues, and so it's a positive process. And even though it's a tremendous amount of work to produce this report, which right now, if I was going to print it, it'd be about like that, it's a worthwhile effort. I want to give special thanks to Priscilla Butler on our ESL faculty, who has joined as an editor and collaborator and taken on this additional task on top of her teaching load, and her contributions and hard work have been indispensable. The next major steps are that the report goes out for campus-wide distribution in early April. It goes to the College Planning Council in April for first and second reading. The board will see it in mid-May and in June. And once it's approved here, there'll be a final production and printing step. It gets mailed, and then we're at our visit time in the fall. And after that, there's a period of mysterious silence while deliberations take place, and then we would get word in January that our accreditation has been reaffirmed with any additional notices and conditions and so on. Any questions? Okay.
Thank you very much. That's something everybody wants to hear about as it progresses. Thank you. All right. We've heard from Dr. Corrington. That was a really exciting sabbatical project, and I would encourage you, if you have an opportunity, to read that journal magazine. It really is very impressive, very neat. And now we're ready for some other kinds of work, and the first thing is the Transportation Demand Management Plan. Joe? I can't even say it.
Well, having spent the last about 10 days of my life putting this together and rewriting it, I can understand that. I don't know if I could pronounce it anymore myself. This is a very important report that we put together, and it was first requested by the Coastal Commission in 1999. They received their first Transportation Demand Management Plan in 2000. We updated it pretty much on an annual basis thereafter, kind of every other year, every year. It was fairly consistent until about 2009, and then the position that was used to work on this report and put this report together was eliminated. And so we were down to it was not, I guess you'd say, reinstituted until 2013. And we came back and did some analysis. And 2014, this is presented to you now. It's actually the report, the data, as was put into the first few sections, as you'll see, was from 2013, 2014. So it is now actually in the process of being updated for 2015 as we speak. Our planners have come in and have put together the study, and they're actually going to be here next week putting together the studies for that plan. So we will actually, much quicker than the last time, get a report out again and substantiate it for the coming year. And it will go back to being an annual report. And part of the reason for that is that I was named as the person ultimately responsible for getting the report done, which I was before, but now I'm tasked with ensuring that we generate it every year, so it will get done. If I can move us forward. The table of contents, as you can see, there's an executive summary and current campus conditions, and I'm not going to go over that with you today. I mean, that's something you can look at, and that's the data, more or less the history that tells you how and where we get to where we need to be. What we need to focus on is what are our goals in the TDMP. That's what the Coastal Commission is mostly interested in, as well as the outcome. They're more interested in what are we doing, what are we continuing to do, and that's in our goals and in our strategies, both short-term and long-term. And that's where their focus will be. I'm meeting with them, it turns out, next Tuesday to go over this. So we will be going over primarily those two sections. So that's what I'm going to cover with you tonight. And I think is you'll see most critical to what you need to gather in order to approve it for going forward, because our strategies really are what you're looking at and approving. Our goals, and these come from the TDMP that started in 1999, 2000, 2006, 2007. The Coastal Commission came in and put in place about 9 specific goals that we have to they wanted put into our TDMP as a condition for approving what's called a public, our public works plan notices and notice of impending development that we were doing at the time. And they said, you will put some of these in. So those are incorporated into these goals, but there's more than that in here. There's more goals as we've worked through the years, we've done more, but incorporated into that so that you know it is, and I guess core to it are the conditions that Coastal Commission put in place in 2006 and 2007. So what we look at as one of our goals is we want to improve bus transit, and the basic tenet of that is you want to increase your daily transit riders to and from campus. And so it's how do we do that? We work with MTD on that. We have a very good relationship with MTD. We pay them a substantial portion of the transportation fund collected from our students each year that goes directly to supporting the bus system. And they've really come through this year. I just was out at the Tropicana for lunch 2 days ago, and we were talking to them there, and they're very happy with the articulated buses that have come on board, the fact that there's no students left behind. So that's been a big plus for us this semester that really has come through from their perspective. Other things we want to do to continue to improve it, we've been talking with them for a long time about a smart card, which would read our ID cards, so we can track our ridership on all the buses, and also would allow us then to put in, because for our employees, we'd also like to put in include them in this program, but it'll be much, I guess the only way we can really do that and afford to do it is kind of a pay-as-you-go process, that we pay for the trips they actually take, because our employees don't use it at the rate our students do. We want to upgrade the East Campus bus stop to a transit super stop, and that's more of a long-term goal. We're still working on it, but we do have plans that we put together that to improve that bus stop out there substantially, but again, we're working through the process of getting that approved through Coastal and the city, and hopefully we'll be able to put some substantial improvements in the near future. We're working with the Coastal Express and Clean Air Express to include us as a stop on their routes, and we haven't really been successful with that. It's difficult to get them to do an additional stop, even though we are a very large employer in the area, we'd have to guarantee them more revenue than we can. And this should be interactive. I really want you to understand it so that when it comes back to you, you have it. So if you have any questions, please just speak up. And for those of you out there as well. Another goal is carpooling and van pooling. This is the Coastal Commission has wanted us to substantially increase our carpooling across the years. It's been 18.66% of our spaces for since 2000. And they'd like to see us increase it, and we put in there a goal to increase it to 25%. That's been in there for quite a while. And there's reasons why it hasn't, we haven't taken it up. Basically, the demand hasn't been there. And so what we're trying to do now is incorporate into it, how can we get the demand for carpooling up to the level where we really can move more of our spaces to carpooling and have them fill every day, so we don't lose those spaces out of our inventory.
If your invitation to jump in
Yes.
appeals to me. Carpooling to me is defined as one car with two or more people in it from a distance. And what I sometimes see is that our students stand by the curb out here on Cliff Drive, jump into a single automobile, single occupied automobile, and suddenly it's a carpool.
And you know, we can't. It's the exception. We know that it happens, but it's not predominant, and it's not something that we can actually plan for. We can't go out and police something like that. That doesn't.
Well, you feel confident that that's an anomaly.
It's an anomaly. We have, because when we heard about it, we actually had security stand out there watching for a while to look at it, and it did happen occasionally. They saw that happen maybe 2 or 3 times over the course of 4 hours in a morning, and that's not substantial enough to impact the carpooling spaces. The carpooling spaces are more impacted in the first couple of weeks because we allow instructors and adjuncts to park in them, so that because of the staff parking issues, and so. You know, that's part of what we're looking at, and that's why we're working with Traffic Solutions. Traffic Solutions is implementing a new car sharing program, and that's coming out this next month, and we're very excited about that because it's actually very user-friendly, and we're hoping that as we educate our staff and faculty about that, we'll get more takers as far as carpooling goes, and the students as well, because you're right, our students come from a distance, they drive a car. We should be able to get more of them in the car together, and that's our goal.
Well, thanks for that clarification.
Yeah. Okay. Bicycle use. This is really exciting for us because this is something that. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I didn't know if I should say something. I kind of wanted to back up to the encouragement of riding the bus and that whole system. I've been approached by a number of students that feel it is very unsafe as far as the West Campus bus stop coming from the apartment buildings, especially across the street from the school. There's been a number of students that have said, I've almost got hit by a car a number of times. So my concern is, if we're going to be building a bigger bus stop, you know, you were saying on the West Campus, but is there any talk of installing a crosswalk somewhere across maybe Barranca that would provide safety for our students? I hear it numerous times per week.
Safety is an issue, and if I may just a little bit, of the neighborhood task force that we're looking at, but it's also something that we've been talking to the city about for quite a while, and I would say our talks are getting better and better with the city, because before it was Caltrans who had the street, and so the city's only had it for a year, a little over a year, so they're still getting their, you know, so to speak, getting their hands around what they need to do to bring it up to the level that our neighbors and us want to see it at as far as safety goes, and so we have really good talks going with the city. We have lots of ideas out there. It's just really now getting down to the level of what can we actually do, and we are looking towards improving the safety on Cliff Drive in a very real way, both for bikes and for pedestrians. It's very important to us and to our neighbors. So
But what's
hopefully we'll
really
see it.
important is that while we have control of our property, we don't have control of the city street. So that's why this relationship that Joe is talking about is so important and meaningful to us. So,
I would just encourage more talks about that issue.
Nicholas, why don't you and whomever, probably Colette, make an appointment with Joe and go talk to him about those concerns. Talk with your fellow students and then go talk with him. I know that that students are very concerned about many of these issues and may have some good ideas. And I know that Joe's committee has been knocking itself out to work on these. So
And I
it'd be
appreciate-
great.
I appreciate the work that you are doing, and I will go ahead and talk with Colette
Yeah.
and see if we can kind of work on this as well.
I'm coming back to talk to you in just a week or two, so, or probably 2 weeks because next week is off, but we can make that a topic for sure.
Great, thank you so much.
Great, thank you.
And so then if I move on to bicycle use, the primary thing is you want to increase the share of trips arriving on campus by a bicycle. And then how do we do that? Well, we were talking to the city about developing a Class 1 bike path with along Cliff Drive from Meigs Road to Rancheria Street. And basically now they've taken a big step in making the Class 1 lanes above our West Campus entrance, and we want to extend that all the way down to Rancheria Street. And we feel if we do that, it'll make it much safer. Ultimately, we would like to see Castillo, and that's further down because it's a long-term goal, the improvements of Castillo, but that is further down. The other thing we want to do is we want to make more, much clearer where you can ride your bike on our campus, where it's safe to do so and where we allow it. So we're going to be doing that. And we want to develop shower locker and locker facilities, bicycle lockers, and or a bicycle library. And the important thing there is in January we actually have done that for employees primarily. In the fall we're going to be including students in a couple of the programs that we mentioned further on here. And one of them is this one. We're going to open up the bike sheds so that they can store their bicycles in there. Hopefully that'll encourage them to ride more to campus, because a deterrent is we do have quite a bit of theft on this campus of bicycles. And so we're doing other things as well. We were just talking about today, we're going to install more cameras overlooking the bicycle areas to try and discourage theft. We'll see how that helps. Another thing we've done is we put in a campus bike shop and increased the bike parking directly on the campus. And the bike shop, if you haven't been there, I love it. Every time I go by there, there's people in there. And we're actually talking to the students so we can put a coffee kiosk next to it and improve traffic in that area so that people are even more aware of it. We want to increase motorcycle and scooter use because that opens up a parking spot, and it's not truly green, I guess you'll say, because you're still using a motorized vehicle, but it reduces traffic congestion and it reduces the number of parking stalls used on campus. So we've improved the motorcycle and scooter parking in the motorcycle lot. That was part of when we moved out there. We said we would do that. We're still in the process of completing it, but we do have we're putting in lighting and cameras out there, and we have cleaned that area up a lot. Providing information on alternative modes is something that we feel is critical to getting people to take advantage of it. A lot of times people just don't know that there's a car share program at Traffic Solutions, or that we have a bike shop, so if your bike's broken, you can bring it in and get it repaired on campus. You don't have to go to another bike shop, you just drive on campus, or maybe push it onto campus and ride it home. So we hope that just doing that and getting more awareness about the alternative modes. We have developed a pilot incentive program which worked out amazing from my perspective. I mean, I said it before, we expected 30 people and we got 140. And there's 101 people that are taking 3 or more trips a week by alternative transportation on that program now. So that's very exciting to us. And as I said, we're going to promote bike ridership. We want distance learning and scheduling as one tenet of what we're trying to do here, and what we have done very successfully, actually. If you look from 2000 It was virtually zero. Now it's up to almost 14% are online classes. So that's been very good. And so our goals have included stabilizing the on-campus enrollment. And we're doing that through the growing of off-campus enrollment and course options. And part of what we felt would help with the congestion was when we went to Banner, just allowing students to enroll through Banner, we felt would keep them from having to come to campus. I mean, before we had Banner, people talk about how bad it is. You should have been here the first week of classes. People coming into student services to try and get registered, to try and add, to try and do what they needed to do. And now they can pre-register, and there's just a whole different process that they follow. We redistribute course offerings. This is one thing we've talked about from Monday through Thursday to Friday and Saturday. That's part of what we're looking at. That's in the neighborhood task force recommendations as well. We talked about it a little bit today, so I won't bring that one up again. I guess we'll move on, unless there's questions. So what we did one of the things we looked at that was a goal was the consolidation of the TDMP duties and responsibilities. And that was done by appointing the Vice President of Business Services as the TDMP administrator. I needed another cap to wear.
Good move.
And so what his first goal is to hire a commuter programs coordinator. So, but we're working on that. But our overall goal, again, up here is by consolidating it, by bringing it together, is to decrease peak parking demand and the congestion on the streets and the parking in the neighborhoods and bring it all back to the campus. We talk about surface parking. The Coastal Commission, to them, it's very important to them that we lease or actually have access to the parking at Ledbetter, because they feel that without it, we couldn't run our campus. So if we don't have a long-term agreement with the city on that, that's going to impact their perspective of us. So they insist that we include that in there. We do happen to have a joint use agreement which runs through 2037, so we're covered for a few more years. We put in there, there's really no place to put additional parking on campus, even surface parking, without encroaching on okay, Julie, I'm going to say it wrong, but I say environmentally sensitive habitat, or it's an archaeologically sensitive habitat. So there's really no place for us to put it. When we remove those portables, we need to restore them back to what they were before. That land was, designated land, and it needs to be put back to what it was, or something that's equally as positive for the environment. Another goal of the TDMP is to work with MTD to take the proposal to the legislature. The fees for students are limited by Ed Code to $70 total between parking and transportation. And so TDMP has put together a proposal, and they're taking it to the legislature, of course, with our support, to increase that dollar amount. They feel that it's inadequate for what they need to do to provide good service for us here, and they'd like to see that increased. We want to provide all permanent employees with options and incentives, and we have the pilot program, and we're hoping to be able to continue that program. I think it's been very beneficial. I think the pilot program showed me, and I think a lot of others, that it's not just freeing up parking spaces, it's the way you feel when you ride your bike or walk or take alternative transportation. It's a positive, it's just you feel positive. You come to school, you get here, you've done something positive, and it feels good. We brought the people together. We had a pizza lunch. We're going to have a pancake breakfast. And to be there and to feel, to talk to everyone who's doing it and how happy they are that they're doing it and participating in the program. And it's just been a very positive experience. I hope other people have felt it too. And I can say it's a great benefit, I think, that goes beyond just, oh, well, maybe we'll help ease parking a little bit. So that brings us to our short-term strategies. The top one on my list, which, you know, these are always these are strategies, so it's what you're trying to do, is we need a commuter options coordinator. We need someone to actually come in and manage these programs. And if we want to continue and actually provide the educational resources, the support for a true program that supports all of our students and all of our staff, you need someone dedicated to that. And that's evident because when we did have someone dedicated to it years ago, it was a very positive, active program with the students. And so we'd like to bring that back. We want to identify off-site parking locations and address the last mile, and we've done that, and Angie's a participant. It's worked very well for us to have a couple of shuttles, one from the Wake and then one from Garden, and the one from Garden's been very good. And I think when we add the students to that in the fall, we're hoping we're not going to get overwhelmed, but on the other hand, maybe that's a good thing. So we'll see how that goes, but we are going to add the students to our shuttles, both from Garden and the Wake in the fall. We wanted to install secure bike storage, and we've done that to a degree. We have the bike storage lockers, but we want to make the bike parking also. No one should have anything stolen, and we've got to make it more secure on this campus for our bicycles and for, you know, for people to feel confident that even if they're bringing their beach cruiser, it's not going to get stolen. You know, there's nothing worse than walking out and finding out you've lost something. It's not something anyone should have to feel. We want to definitely add some, I guess, I wouldn't call them luxuries, but what we need in the buildings and what we're probably going to propose as part of our transportation alternatives is that we make it part of our campus standard that when we modernize a building, we add showers and lockers for people so that they can commute by biking or walking. And we would like to see that. I know it takes space, but it's not that much space. Let's figure it out. Don't look at that, Lori. No. We want to increase the safety by improving bike lanes and the Castillo underpass. That's a big goal. That's definitely a long-term goal, but the city is definitely on board with that. They definitely see the same issues we do, and it's not just for us, it's for anyone going to the beach that comes from the the west side. So it'd be a huge benefit to figure out how to make that safe for bicycles and pedestrians. Again, and one of our short-term strategies is to distribute class sections more evenly across the week. And the long-term strategies, we want to continue to develop the incentive program and make it something more. We're looking at student housing, pursuing partnerships for off-campus student housing. We know we're not going to build our own housing, but we have opportunities possibly that we can work with developers and possibly getting something that in place in a partnership form where we work directly with them. Our students then are benefit directly because we are involved, because we do manage a lot of the process. And by being, by the college being involved, we can hold the students to a higher standard, and it will be, hopefully, make it a better situation. Sound good? Then something that's been suggested is, what if we offered retail and banking services on campus? There's things that we don't have on campus that we're looking actually at doing, which is like a convenience store, and the bookstore is looking to open. They're talking right now to someone to put a convenience store actually within the campus bookstore so that people can get things if they need milk, butter, eggs, whatever, something quick that they need to take home. And so we're looking at doing that. Putting banking services on campus, we've tried to do that in the past. Now with the electronic banking, it's getting to be less and less of a demand, but we're still looking at it to see if there's something we can do, a kiosk or something that provides more service than what they have. And again, we're going to continue to collaborate with the city and MTD long term. That's our goals. So any questions, comments?
Marcia?
I appreciate you and the committee have done a ton of work here, and it's a lot going on, and very positive things are going on. I'm looking at this as a report that you're going to send to the Coastal Commission.
They've already got it.
Oh, because I have some concerns.
In draft form.
Okay.
They need
These
to
are
be-
not big concerns, these are just
Yes,
concerns
yeah,
as
so
to
I'm
what
saying
I
it's
would
not- we can still
be
look at
saying
this,
to them. And a report that the board would be approving, which you're asking for next time.
Next time.
Okay. So one is, in the executive summary, we're saying the parking capacity is at 96% during peak hours midday, and this is acceptable. I'm not quite sure as a goal that that sounds like a low enough number to me. I mean, if I go into a parking structure that's 96% full, I think it's pretty tough to not spend a lot of time looking for a parking space. So as a goal, I'm a little hesitant to say it's acceptable. And I leave that to you with just that comment because I know you're looking at this as a report to the Coastal Commission.
And just, I think that that's correct, and the Coastal Commission looks at it. How long is it at 96%? If it's at 96% for 5 hours, that's too long. If it's at 96% for a brief period, then that may be acceptable given, you know, the way our classes are structured, the fact that we have more students on midday that aren't in class but are still here. That may be what our capacity is. So it's a tough one, you're right. It's higher. They want it at 80%.
Yeah, and I
we
would
could
think our
never,
staff
ever
feel that way too,
foresee
judged on emails.
actually, this is the first semester that I've been here. I have not gotten one complaint. I've not heard of one instructor not being able to get to class, and not one student. It's been a wonderful semester.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. The next thought I had was that in the next paragraph, you say this plan recognizes the parking supply on main campus will likely remain at this level in the future. The on-campus student body will not increase or decrease significantly. Campus is at capacity. Course offerings will remain fairly constant, and that the potential for shifting to public transit, bicycling, van pool, carpool, or walking for at least part of the trip is very high. To me, what makes more sense is to say that that's where our focus is to shift, rather than to say that we know the potential is very high, because I don't know at what point we might hit kind of a max of the number of people we can convince to do any of these things. So I think our energy is going into that, but I'm not sure I'm confident in saying that, wow, we can really make a big change here, that the potential is in fact very high, as opposed to this is where we're trying to put our efforts, which I think are two very different comments. The table on page 13 seems to have a number of asterisks, and I couldn't find where the asterisks went.
That's why it's a
to.
draft. I've got to pull them out. Those were notes to myself, so
Okay.
I got to go through and pull all those out.
Well, that might be helpful. And then in terms looking at it as a person, as a board member being asked to approve the report, and this is not part of the report, but it's things that I would like to understand when I approve the report. I think that there was reference, and I didn't go back and find it, to using ending balances to fund part of this program. And given what we're looking at with Campus Center and all of that, it's not clear to me we have ending balances to fund this program apart from, without going below what we have by policy set. And so I am concerned about approving a report to another regulatory agency that would say we're going to use this money when we really haven't gotten to it as a decision, and we haven't gotten a clear picture of what that might mean. So I don't want to imply we're going to spend this money when we just don't know at this stage, I guess.
I think we can be fairly confident that our one-time ending fund balances will be relatively robust. Everything that I'm hearing from the state, including this past weekend, show that the revenues in the state far exceed that is what has been projected. Prop 98 then provides those resources be focused on K through 14 and certainly through community colleges. What we're hearing from the Chancellor's office is that the May revise will likely include some significant one-time only. These are the sorts of monies that we're looking at, and that's what we had anticipated when we went in to this as well. So I would hope that the board would consider that. This is a highly successful program. There needs to be resources that are put toward that, and we have them in the form of what we're hearing from the state.
Well, I'm just suggesting that there may be a way to explain this to the Coastal Commission that doesn't imply that we know exactly where that money comes from.
And that's why I want to be very
It's
clear.
in our budget. It's going to be in our budget.
The TDMP does not address budget. It's planning and administration. It does not address budget, and that's by intent from the Coastal Commission. They want you to put it in. They're not looking to how you're going to fund it or how you're going to budget it. What they're looking for is that you're planning and you're moving forward. And so that's where our focus will be. If we will move forward to the level our budget, our funding will allow. And I think that there's substantial that we can do with what we have already put in place. I mean, we have a lot of the assets in place now that will help us go forward. There's still some variable costs, but they're not as significant as what it's taken to put the sheds in place and get the cars set in place, get some electric bikes.
And I
so
understand that, which is why I made the distinction between approving it as a board member and what you put in the report to the Coastal Commission. If they don't need to know where the money comes from, then I don't really need to say that it's coming from ending balances. It's somewhere.
May I interject here that we will refer this to the fiscal committee and perhaps...
I don't know if do we meet before the next?
I believe we do meet before April 9th.
Okay,
So
well, maybe we can resolve it that way.
And then
it's
I
not
urge you,
insoluble in any way.
This is a plan,
Yeah.
and it's just like Plump. We're not referring Plump to the fiscal committee because it is an intent and a plan, and then we work toward these plans like the educational master plan. So I wouldn't do a really deep dive into the financial aspects of this because these are simply, as Joe said, they go through the process of budget development through program review, and they'll be assimilated or not depending upon our resources and our priorities.
I completely agree with that. I just hate to see anything in writing that goes beyond internal. And the fiscal committee can discuss whether that matters or not. But especially since I haven't been part of this discussion and I'm not exactly sure what the issues are, but I do think that we need to be very sure that anything that goes to an official body does not promise money that comes from a particular account. And of course, that's what Lori's saying in a way, is
Right.
that...
I'm suggesting reconciling the language, if I'm correct, that it said it will come from ending balances, and I think I remember reading that we maybe tweak that to something more generic, is all. And I'm also suggesting as a board member that apart from the plan, just like some sense of what it's costing in ongoing costs when we approve it as a separate comment to us. Just, here's what we think this plan will cost us looking forward. And also a sense of where we are on utilization and demand for the steps that we have taken. Like you mentioned the carpool spots. We don't need more of them yet. We'd like to. But where are we right now? And then where are we headed with the bikes? Have we got, 50% demand? Have we got, how are we doing? How are we doing kind
I
of
don't know
stuff?
that we can do that right now. We launched it 2 months ago, and I think we need a little bit more time. We can certainly provide, and we have provided both in this document and before, the cost of startup. Those have been one-time costs. But an assessment, I think it's far too early. Joe has sent out surveys, and those surveys, I believe the responses have been shared with everyone. But our demand, our projection, we don't know. We haven't opened it up to students. So next year will be a more effective period of time to do an assessment. Right now, this is without question what do you call it, a beta test or whatever. It's with select people and select groups. The response has been overwhelmingly positive. We have the figures. If those figures are not satisfactory within this report, just let me know what else you would like. We'll look at the report and see if it talks about, I don't recall it talking about in the document itself. It may in the addendum, but I don't recall.
I think it'd be in the TAG report is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah, that's an
tag.
addendum.
That's
Yeah,
an
that's
addendum.
the appendix,
That's
so.
part of TAG. We can't extract that. But the report itself doesn't speak to.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a.
Yeah,
the TAG
well,
recommendation.
that may be where it is, because
Yeah.
as I said, I don't recall where I read it, I just think
Yeah, I was
I
trying to figure out, I was going,
remember
where is it
reading
in, it
Yeah,
is in
it's
the
not.
TAG, because it is one of the recommendations from TAG,
Right.
so.
Okay.
But that's, again, that's separate. And TAG will be meeting again in a couple weeks because we're bringing back to give them the results of the survey we just completed and the actual data that we've collected. And as Lori said, we just did the follow-up survey with the participants, and 97 of them responded. And overwhelmingly positive. I mean, and great suggestions. I mean, that's what we took it for, and we've got a lot of new ideas that we're going to take to TAG that just minor tweaks, and it's going to be, it'll help the program. So,
Well, I think all of that is great. I'm not trying to detract from it. I'm just looking at it as, this is the plan we're being asked to approve to send to the Coastal Commission, which, has its basis for asking for this. So I want to be clear that what we're saying to them is appropriate.
I included the TAG report in the appendices because I felt it was very important to show them how much participation we had, where it came from, and the results, and how much we were able to take from what they recommended and incorporate it into our TDMP. So that's, yes, and it does talk about funding in there, but that's not the TDMP.
Okay.
Veronica?
I just want to say thank you, Joe, but Marcia, I appreciate your comments, and I thank you for bringing this to light, because I think that these are conversations that so many stakeholder groups have participated in, and even your report highlights some themes that have come across other stakeholder conversations. And so for us as a board to approve this, I think it is important to say that while it is a requirement and they are a regulatory agency, we're taking this seriously, and we're not going to just check it off and say, oh, we did it as just process. And it's a real thing. We're saying, hey, we're seriously looking at this. We have a commitment to doing this. And we're not, even though they're not checking where the funding's going to come from, we want to make sure that we're serious and we're not just throwing it in there as a process. So I appreciate you bringing this, and I think it's important.
Yeah, they're going to, in the next TDMP, they're going to look for the summer report from the pilot program and what happened. And they follow very closely. They're very, I hate to say it, but detail-oriented staff down there.
Any other questions or comments?
I just want to say, the map kind of shows what we've done. This is actually our campus map, and this shows basically what's been incorporated as far as where we've added bike parking, where the sheds are, where the BC Centro shop is. It's all on this little map, which makes it a very busy map now, but it's now on our SBCC Commute website. So it provides a lot of information in a little area. Yes.
Peter?
I wanted to say thank you, because what you're really trying to do here is change a culture, nothing short of that. It's a switching Americans, any Americans, out of their cars onto bicycles or buses. I mean, it's a huge, huge undertaking. If there's anything that we can do by way of participating with you, I hope you will let us know.
Yeah, go to the city and tell them you really love bike share. The bike share program. They're working on getting that in, and that will be huge if we get that, I think. That'll help us a lot.
I've checked into the bicycle shop a couple of times, and I've not been there when there weren't people. So it's very clear that it is attracting people and that they're having fun with it. So congratulations to you and your committee, and I'm sure that we'll be hearing from you again. Thank you, Joe. All right, that was the first reading. We will have it again under discussion on April 9th and then be asked to vote on this report.
Action on April 9th.
Yes.
Vote then.
Now, we're about to talk about the change in admission process for the associate degree program, and this is an information and question only item.
Yes, and what we're suggesting here, and Dr. Friedlander, do you want to take this, is a change in our criteria for acceptance into the associate degree nursing program. And this is information.
Our associate degree nursing program, we have a wait list that goes into 2020, as far as one can see on that. And what we use is multiple criteria in terms of, say the students satisfy different requirements. They meet their science prerequisites to get into the nursing program. Did they score, they take a test and so forth. And then it's been a wait list, first come, first serve. And the nursing faculty felt that a more appropriate way would be to take the people who are on that list and give weights to, for example, their test scores, how many times they repeated a science course, and so forth, so that they're able to select on merit within that wait list, as opposed to just time waiting to get in. So for the students who are on that wait list who are most qualified based on multiple criteria, they would get a higher priority based on where they are in line. But it wouldn't be strictly on when you signed up. And they felt that way they would be able to be more, take students who are more prepared to succeed in that program. And also encourage students to perform at a higher level rate. So when they take the science classes, they don't drop and withdraw from those classes. They know there's consequences to do that. Where now it doesn't matter it's whether they completed it or didn't, and what kind of grade they got in those classes would matter. That would get weight, as opposed to student gets an A in chemistry, student gets a C. They both have equal weighting now. There's no weight based on performance in terms of making that selection. So that's basically what they want to do. What they would like to do is announce it now and tell people, and this would begin for the start of the fall 16, not this fall, but the following fall, entering class. So it gives people a chance to know the new rules going in. So that's basically what they're proposing to do. And they've been thinking about that for a long time, and they've waited to see how other colleges, community colleges, who have done this, to see what the impact is. And based on the reports they're getting and the evaluations, they felt it made sense for us to move in that direction as well. So that's basically what's being the change that we wanted to let you know about.
This is an information item, but you certainly can ask questions. Are there any questions? Marcia?
I just wanted to say I think it's a great idea because I have gotten, as a board member, complaints from students who wanted to enter our program and did not want to wait for the time period when it was, just wait. And they felt that they were very well qualified and they could get into the Ventura program, so that's where they went.
Correct. So I think this will actually allow us to attract students who have met those, who perform better. That's exactly right. Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I just have a question. I remember when Dean was overseeing this program, he mentioned that they found that local residents that went through our program were more likely to be employed at Cottage and stay at Cottage because the cost of living wasn't an issue. They're already used to living in their communities, and so the retention was higher. And so in looking at, the criteria for admission, is the thought of also looking at giving priority also to local residents that are already in our community wanting to work at Cottage, already living here?
I don't think we can do that. That would be unfair because we're a state-funded institution, and that's not something based on merit. And so, this is all based on effort and achievement as opposed to where one resides. So, no, we couldn't do it, but I think once they're here, Dina's right, they're staying longer now at Cottage.
And then another thing that I'd be curious to see what is the demographics of our students. You mentioned some students that are multiply failed X courses that are prerequisites. So who is on the waiting list, and what is stopping them in terms of the next courses? Where are they stuck?
Well, right now, the ones who are on the waiting list, they've met the minimum criteria, so they're on that list. So they aren't stuck. But then a lot of students who want to be nurses can't get through the science requirements, the math and the chemistry and biochem. And so what faculty done in the sciences have developed these supplemental courses and review courses for them to succeed. So they're succeeding at a higher rate, and that has elongated our wait list because they're getting through those courses now.
So I guess I'm still a little confused. And so how would you then determine, so you've created the wait list already, then how would you determine who gets in then if all of them have already passed the courses?
Because some get A's, some gets B's, some C's. Scores. And then some have withdrawn from chemistry twice, and it was a third try, and they got a C. So all that has different weights, on that. And it's also based on a test score they take, who's got the higher scores, on that, as well as when they first got on that wait list. So all those factors, are taken into account.
What do the counselors think about this?
Well, I think there's counselors assigned to the nursing faculty, and they've been involved in those discussions, and so they've been very supportive of it. They felt that it more rationalizes the process.
Any other questions?
Craig? Craig?
Yeah, I know this is for information for us, but it does the topic does address concerns we've had, up until a couple of years ago about the time Dr. Gaskin came on, where we didn't have enough class sections, so people couldn't progress fast enough to get their degrees because there weren't some sections available. And maybe I'm wrong, but I've had students and members of the public tell me that they couldn't get the classes that they needed because they had conflicts with work and other things. Again, we're here to serve our district. And to hear that we have a great nursing program, and to hear that we have, if I heard you right, like local students that maybe go to Ventura or Santa Maria instead of here, when we're right here and they're here, that seems counterproductive. And, to what our mission is. Our core mission is to serve our district. And if there's a conflict in letting our local students in that live in our district already, then I have a great interest in that, to find out if my thinking is correct or not.
Well, a couple of things. Our core mission isn't to serve the district. Our core mission is to provide transfer, career and technical, and foundational skills and education. This mobility is why the restriction on the fact that you could only attend the college in your district was removed decades ago.
Understand.
The ratios that we are required by Title 22 and state code are very low for nursing, something on the order of 10 to 1. And as a consequence, we don't have the capability, absent the generous support that we receive from Cottage, to increase our course offerings. We don't have capacity not only because of the ratio, but we are constrained by the clinical sites as well.
Right.
Cottage is actually at capacity and almost over capacity with CSU Channel Island and our students. So we're at carrying capacity. And what we're saying is when we allocate that spot, we want to give that student the best opportunity to be successful as possible. And the faculty are saying this is how we do that. So we can't pick and choose on the basis of local or not.
Yeah.
I pretty much get that part, and I'm not
Yeah.
disagreeing with what the faculty want to do.
Right.
I'm just looking at the perception of the community that elects me as a board member.
Sure.
that care about the students here, and the public has been speaking about this in different ways on different topics since I've been on this board and before. So that's, I feel like I guess I need more information, so I'll just dig and do more homework. Thank you very much.
I think, what Dr. Gaskin said is really important. This is an issue throughout the country in California, is that on one hand, they're saying increase the number of nursing graduates, but there aren't enough clinical sites at the hospitals and for them, and so that becomes a major constraint on that, so that's I think more of a limiting factor than anything else right now in terms of why that wait list here and elsewhere is so long.
Okay. Well, I know there are a lot of factors. Just something on my radar that just I wanted to make sure I said something. So I'll continue to look into it.
Okay. Peter?
As I understand it, Jack, what you're proposing, what the staff of the nursing program is proposing is a merit-based admission system that is checked by metrics.
Correct.
But you began by saying that there's a long waiting list.
Yeah.
What happens to that waiting list? Does that just go away and we start over again?
So somebody gets on the wait list, and then from that wait list, that's who they apply the criteria to. And so let's say that you and I are both on that wait list, but you were there a year before I did, and we both had the same metrics, same scores. Then you would get in before I would because you were there first.
Okay, so you've thought about that?
Yes.
Okay. Does this merit system for admission have applicability to other programs?
It only have to be limited to select programs, and I think nursing is about the only one that falls into it. Also,
allowed by Title V.
Yeah.
To apply it to nursing only.
Yeah, and there's been legislation passed that specifically targets nursing, saying use multiple criteria, and you can do this. So we knew we can do it a few years ago, but we wanted to wait to see what other schools' experiences were before we went ahead and did it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I just have one last comment.
Yes, Veronica?
You mentioned academic performance, and so when you read it, it says that it allows the community colleges to evaluate the applicants for admissions nursing programs to include specific criteria relating to academic performance, work volunteer experience, foreign language, life experiences, and special circumstances. So will you be looking at all of that, or just only cutting out academic performance?
I think we're looking at really just on the next page is the specific multiple criteria we're using. So that's what it allows for, but we're focusing just on the multiple criteria that are prerequisites, how many times, withdrawal rates, repeats, performance, and test scores.
So you're just basing it on academic performance?
Right.
Yeah, so I think, and I just want to give you my opinion that I do have reservations on that, because that is allowed for everything else, and the fact that you would just take one, I would question if we're looking at this program through a lens of a cultural competency and we're being culturally sensitive to the diverse population that we serve. And so whenever we make these systemic changes, we have to look at how that's going to affect all of our students.
Yeah, what we have to do, we're required, when we use multiple measures, to look at something they call disproportionate impact. So disproportionate impact, and we had to do the studies, is saying, well, if you do this, if you tweak your measures, will this adversely affect one group of students or population group in a way that would have a negative effect on them. So those are studies we had to do and have validated to ensure that that wouldn't happen.
So what were the studies that you did?
Well, what you do is you say, okay, then you do the simulations, because we already know what those variables are. And then you look at, well, here's the admit rate we would have prior to changing, going to a weighting system, and how many underrepresented students, economically disadvantaged students, Latino, Hispanic students, would you have let in one way or the other? If you're using the weighting system, and it showed that fewer Latino, Hispanic students, or low-income students, or African American students, or any one group was significantly adversely affected by that, meaning their chances of getting in would be lower. That means you couldn't validate that scheme, and you wouldn't be allowed to do it going forward. Then we have to do those that test, the disproportionate impact test, send it to the state along with our proposed changes to, and that's the insurance that what we're doing doesn't adversely affect one group disproportionately than another. So that's what that is all about.
That's a really important question, and I hope we do that every time we change the way we accept students to any program. That's very useful information, Jack. Thank you for sharing
in fact,
that.
every time we, every 5 years, we have to validate our placement test. And we have to do that same kind of study, on that. And then if that doesn't work, you got to change your cut scores so you make sure that you're not doing disproportionate impact.
Yeah, thank you for sharing
Sure,
that.
you're welcome.
It's very worthwhile to spend the time on discussing this program because it is one of the sterling programs in SBCC. There are a lot of them, but this is certainly one of them. And it's very important for our community. Every time you're in the hospital or you go to a doctor, you're likely to be taken care of by someone from SBCC or who got at least some of their education here. So thank you for asking those questions, trustees, and thank you, Jack, for your patience in our questions. And now that was not for action, that was just for information, but it was important for us. Now, the next items are the second reading of board policy revisions, and we had the first reading at our last meeting. And so these are now action items, and I would like to hear a motion on the first set of those, which is Chapter 2, Board of Trustees, and that is policies 2135 and 2165. That is closed sessions and minutes, and we received those last time. Is there a motion?
Move to approve both policies.
Craig?
Second, both policies.
Do you
I'll
want-
second.
All right. Craig, did you second?
Yeah.
I did, but Peter can, you
I
can
have
write
2
Peter's name down,
seconds
doesn't
here.
matter to me.
Oh, good. Well, there are 2 policies. We can use 2 seconds. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Those are approved. Now, policies regarding the governing board, and there are 3 of them: the budget preparation, the principles of budget development, and budget management. We've been talking a lot about that today, haven't we? And those are our items 6200, 6225, and 6250. And again, this is an action item and the second reading. Motion, please.
I move to approve all 3.
Second.
Right. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Now we are going to look at an interesting and important part of our work life, and that is a self-evaluation, meaning us as a board. Did I skip some? Oh, balloting, yes. I have asked some of you who know people who are on our list to suggest anyone that you find would be very useful to be a trustee. And so let's do that. First, are there people who any of you would like to particularly talk about or nominate? It's a nice long list. And this is the governing board for the California Community College trustees. Marty?
Yeah, I happen to know B.J. Jones, who's a trustee up at Allen Hancock, and I don't know how long he's been there, way before I got elected, so. But a very nice man and also very, very knowledgeable about state issues and so on. And he's kind of our brother, sister, you know. He does North County, we do South County. So I really urge us to vote for him.
Thank you. I do think that it's important to have some people on this board who either reflect the size or the geographic area or something so that we share. Veronica, did you say?
Yeah,
that you had-
Trustee Ontiveros, and he, just working with him at our conferences, and he was Triple CT president, and just very aware of broad issues.
Would you say that name again?
Number 10.
Number 10,
That's
Trustee
number 10,
Ontiveros
the
from
last-
North Orange County.
I would agree.
Okay.
You've met Manny.
Well,
You know
that
him
is
as
the
Manny.
geographical, there's a significant relationship to our area too, plus he's knowledgeable. And since one of us isn't running for this, I thought that might be a good choice. Sorry, that was out of turn.
All right, that's 3, 2. 2. All right. Are there others that you would like to recommend? We have 7 slots.
Does Lori know any of them? Are you?
Lori?
I don't, but I would encourage you to think about districts that have similar characteristics to us because they may have a common perspective, and that being single college districts. Numbers 1, 2, 3, you already did 4. 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, and 9 are single college districts.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9.
Yeah.
And that includes, but it doesn't include Manny,
Doesn't include, I'm sorry.
North County.
number 10.
Well, that's because you've
Right.
already included number 10.
Okay,
So I left off number 10.
4 and 10. Okay,
Right, I left those off.
all right. So, no,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1, 2,
1, 2, 3, 5,
8, 9.
8, 9. So actually, what I'm saying is all of them people have been recommended in
Yeah.
some way, and it's too many. We have to get it down to 7. Peter, do you know any of these folks that you would particularly?
I do, and I mean, they all deserve our merits. I know Doug Otto from Long Beach, but that is a multi-district system. Ann Ransford has a very fine reputation, currently an incumbent on the board. Tony Ontiveros has served as chair of the board, but he's already been nominated. Don Edgar was recommended to me from Sonoma County Community College District as somebody who would be a good addition to the board. And he's not an incumbent. I guess part of me wants to say yes to incumbents, but also have some new blood coming into the group.
Okay, so that would be 1, 4, 5, 10, which means we would still need 3 more.
It would be nice to have someone from the Bay Area, the Richard Waters from Maloney College. I mean, because you have LA, and then way up north. And Ohlone a very diverse district, right in the heart, neighboring Silicon Valley, Palo Alto, San Mateo, that area. I mean, across the bay, but still.
Yeah.
Okay, we have 5. This is 1, 3, 4, 5, 10. Have I got that right? Yeah. Okay. We need 2 more. This is really very difficult, not because they aren't all good, but because we don't know them all.
And I feel like I got more emails than the people that aren't here, because I feel like I read people from Santa Rosa, like an alumni from community college who was a lawyer, USC.
Santa Rosa's number 5.
Oh, so that's him, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Got it.
Yeah, so if we have, the people mentioned so far, numbers 1, 2, 4, and 5.
3, 1, 3, 4, 5.
1, 3, 4, okay, the first 5, plus, if you agree, Doug Otto from District 9, and 10 would be North County, or North Orange County, and that would be 7.
Yep.
I don't think we talked about 2, but that's, it's not that I
Did
know
we talk about 2?
something.
Did somebody recommend 2?
I did.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
missed that.
Okay.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10?
9 and 10.
9, 10.
Right.
All right. Okay.
I would move to accept that slate.
Thank you,
I'll
Peter.
second it.
Thank you, Marty. It's been moved and seconded to accept a slate that includes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, and 10.
Very good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Right, thank you. I know that's a difficult one, only in the sense that we just don't know enough people.
Yeah,
I
and
thi-
it's
I-
very difficult for them to get the word out
Yeah.
about
Yes.
themselves.
But I think it's important that when we are at a conference and see one of these people, try to remember those names, because you can
That's a
always
good
ask
point.
them questions and
Mhm.
see who they are.
I'll try to remember when we go to conferences to give you a list
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
who we suggested, so that you can make contact with them. I know Veronica knows number 10, and Peter knows some, so the rest of us need to catch up here. Thank you very much. Now, we're at board self-evaluation, and attached you had the instrument that we used last time. I would like to know first if we want changes, or if we are comfortable with the instrument which was developed last time.
Actually, 2 times ago.
2 times ago. Yeah, we've used it twice, haven't we? That's right. Okay. Personally, I approve of using an instrument as much as possible more than once, so that you have a comparative measure. On the other hand, if there is a question or issue that really did not come up the way it should, then we ought to change that piece, certainly. Marcia?
Well, I was going to say essentially the same thing, that I think it's pretty useful to try to keep it the same so that you can compare it from year to year. But again, if there's some burning issue, I don't have one. I think we did a good job originally.
All right.
we did.
Craig?
Yeah, I can't recommend a change, but I looked at the first question, and every year that I've answered that, I don't like it because the way it's worded, because I don't know how to interpret it. And so I thought about it for several days, the last few days, and I'm thinking, what could I ask instead of that? Otherwise, saying anything is counterproductive. So I said something anyway, but I can't think of a better way to ask it. I couldn't phrase any better questions or make it longer, but I was all by myself in this dilemma. If you guys are comfortable with it, I'll keep answering the questions. I just thought it could be more meaningful, and maybe doesn't apply to us as board members that much.
I would say that today's discussions are the best example of the board since I've been on it, I guess, of the answer to that question. Because we were talking about class schedules and so forth in an academic way, not at the policy level. And I think that was a very good discussion of what I think this question is about. But I can see why it's hard to answer. It is hard to answer.
Okay. Thank you for the insight. Makes me a little more comfortable.
Yeah.
It's just
I'm
like
glad
voting
you-
for all those people I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. All right. Any other comments about that or about the calendar, which was also attached?
Well, I just
Veronica?
Crane, I think, isn't there a box to type underneath everyone?
Yes.
So then,
Yes.
Yeah, I could type, I
Please,
guess.
please do. And I would urge all of us to do that when we take this questionnaire. When we reviewed the results for the last 2 times, it was very helpful to have comments, because then those comments could be used for the written report. And those of you who just answered the checked the answer, that was not as useful because we didn't know why. So feel free to, I wouldn't write essays, but yeah,
That I
that's
did
a
learn how to
very
do in
good
school.
point, Veronica. Very good. All right. Then I assume that you are comfortable with both the timeline and the evaluation instrument. I don't think this requires, maybe it does. We could have a motion or not, I don't care. I just don't want to push it if you're not comfortable with it.
It's good.
Okay. All right, we're fine.
You're fine.
Thank you for looking at that. I know it's more fun to evaluate everybody else than ourselves, but we got to do it. All right, now, we have some human resources consent items. And Pat, would you like to take these all together or separately?
Good afternoon, members of the board and Dr. Gaskin. I would like to take them all together, 8.1 through 8.4, but I have one change, which is actually part of 8.1. You'll notice there's a to be announced item under classified appointment. I have a name to announce, and better yet, it's not a classified appointment, it's a classified promotion. So it falls into the next category. The name is Phyllis Johnson. Phyllis has been promoted to the Administrative Assistant 3 position, confidential. She will be rated in level 34, step number 8, and her start date will be April 15th. And she is replacing Beverly Schwamm, who is retiring at the end of April, I believe. So with that change to the consent agenda, indeed, I can put forward 8.1, 8.2, 8.3, and 8.4 for your approval.
Thank you. I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve all of them, all 4 of them.
Second?
Second.
It's unanimous
We have the
second.
vote, 3 seconds.
Do we need a vote?
It's 6:30 second approval.
Andy, take whichever one you wish. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you. The next item is also mine. Item number 9.1 is the disclosure, your first sunshining of the district's intention to meet and negotiate with the Instructors Association. As you will recall, you'll see this item twice. Tonight is the first opportunity to present it to you.
And there don't seem to be any public here to make public comments. But I do have to ask if there's anyone who wishes to make public comments. No public. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
No other action is required. And now we are going to be looking at new course and course modifications.
Good evening again. This is an extra long list from the Curriculum Advisory Committee brought for a consent agenda item as we continue to update all of our curriculum. So I'm here to request your consent approval for these changes.
All right. Are there any questions for Dr.
No.
We probably ought to have a motion, yes.
Move approval.
Second.
Thank you, Craig. All right, now, are there any questions? We're starting to sound asleep. Okay, we're not that, it's been a fascinating meeting, but, okay, I guess we don't have questions. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much.
Done. Thank you. Okay. Now, Dr. Friedlander?
Okay, I have item 10.2. I'm recommending approval of faculty stipends.
Motion?
I move approval.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Oh, we got to vote.
You have vote questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I think you just got it approved.
Do it? I think I did. Thank you. Okay, item 10.3 is, these are the new fee-based courses for the CLL, Center for Lifelong Learning. So I recommend I'm asking for approval.
I liked your comment about, in your report about relevance to the community and market viability.
Yep.
That was very interesting. And motion, please.
I move approval.
Second.
Thank you, Craig. All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Good, thank you.
Joe, do you want these bundled or do you want them individual?
Well, we'll take the consent agenda as one item. We do need to remove 11.7, the La Playa Stadium scoreboard replacement structure project, from the consent agenda. Other than that, all items will, or can go forward.
Okay. That thing keeps coming back and forth.
Is there a question?
Yeah, I said that keeps coming back and forth, and it's like that.
We're still working with DSA on getting final approval for it, so we keep trying. It'll come back again.
Motion?
Move approval.
Are we looking for all of them together?
Yes.
Yes.
The consent agenda.
Yeah, the consent items.
So I'll move approval for all of them except for the scoreboard.
All right.
Which you've
Second?
taken off.
Second.
Marty and Craig, thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
On the insurance for our summer programs, the 7 million insurance on a couple of them at the Accent, ones that are run by Accent, I believe. Do you know what the per occurrence there is? And are we sharing that with all their programs?
Sharing it with all that program?
Are we sharing that $7 million insurance policy with whoever else they're doing programs for, or is it just ours?
It's, I will have to go back and research that, but I believe I haven't researched the.
Okay, well, I'm just wanting to be sure we have enough insurance through them, obviously, that would cover any unfortunate events.
Okay. I don't know. This has just been our standard practice for quite a while in the contract. So we have 7 million per occurrence. Is that, I can go back and look at it and send you a follow-up report.
It didn't say whether it was per occurrence or not, so.
Yeah, it's probably a blanket, but if you'd like, I mean, what I can do is just go back and get the information for you.
Maybe for
and send it
future
to you.
reference, yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right. I have just one. Those travel programs look really exciting, and I've always wondered, are they primarily students from the college, or does the community participate in that?
Principally students. It's credit bearing.
Yeah.
So they're addressing perhaps a general education course, or in culinary, they're applying it toward the degree or certificate. So it's principally students.
Every time I attend a board meeting, I think I wish I had lived here when I was going through college, and this is one of those examples. Yep. All right. Motion, please. I don't think we did that one. Yes, we did. Sorry. All right, and you wanted it bundled, and we've been doing that already. So all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, we have items 12.1, the resolution number 37 for budget transfers between major objects, and 12.2, resolution number 38 for the augmentation of revenue. Those two can be taken together.
Right. I'll take a motion.
I'm so moved we take them together, 12.1 and 2.
Second?
Second.
Any questions?
Yeah, under resolution number 38 for augmentation of revenue, on the website, there was no attachment.
And the attachment, I have the attachment on mine. I don't.
Yeah, I wasn't sure whether it was just there for a placeholder or for,
Well, it should have been there. I don't know.
yeah.
I'll look. I'll research.
Okay, I'm just a,
I don't recall not seeing it. or thought it was there.
Thank you for telling me.
Are these items ones that the fiscal committee took up?
no, we don't.
No,
You don't
these
look
are,
at those.
these are just
Okay.
standard
Yeah,
entries
they're
that
pretty
come
standard, but I was just
forward once a
thinking
month.
that in terms of the agenda, it would normally be on there.
Actually, 38 is there.
Really?
Yeah,
When I went online, I couldn't, I'm not showing any attachment
Yeah,
at all.
I just pulled it up from just
That's
going
weird.
through the
I'll also check with the
SBCC.
company, because sometimes they have hiccups. And
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
No, but
it's,
I
it's
just
on
pulled it
mine.
up.
It's on mine.
It's there, yeah.
That's interesting.
May-
Are you going through the sign-in?
No, I'm going through the public site off our website.
I
I have-
already mentioned to Angie that I had the same problem, and I thought it was me. Now I'm feeling better about it.
Well, I've opened it both ways, through my sign-in and through the public site, off the website, and it's there.
Yeah, I don't know, it's just not showing on this iPad, so, anyway. Regardless, I'm not,
You two work together on that list, and once you know
I'll
how
let
to do
Angie
it, let
solve
me
it.
know.
Okay, I'll solve it for you.
Thank you. All right.
Are you ready for a vote?
Yes.
Trustee Kugler?
Aye.
Trustee Bloom? Aye. Trustee Croninger?
Aye.
Trustee Gallardo?
Aye.
Sorry. Trustee Hasland?
Aye.
Trustee Nielsen?
Aye.
Student trustee Style?
Aye.
And then item number 39 is the findings for the Energy Conservation Project and Energy Services Agreement Phase 2, and award of the Energy Services Agreement for LED Lighting Energy Efficiency Project Phase 2.
Move approval of item 12.3, resolution number 39.
All right, we had a motion
Second.
for approval. Second.
Second.
All right. Thank you, Craig.
Trustee Kugler?
Aye.
Trustee Bloom?
Aye.
Trustee Croninger?
Aye.
Trustee Gallardo?
Aye.
Trustee Hasland?
Aye.
Trustee Nielsen?
Aye.
Student trustee Style?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And then we are,
You're going into closed session.
Mine says closed
yeah,
session.
we are in closed, we'll be going into closed session. I will be reporting back after the session.
Can I